Welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. My name's Matthew Cooper, and today we're joined by three glorious guests. We'll start off with Dave. Dave, how are we doing, fella?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Finn, how's it going?
Yeah, all right, thank you. I just realised I'm the only one without my second name on, so it's Morris for the visual listeners. But yeah, I'm all right, thank you.
And we've got Tom Parker. Tom, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to causing some controversy.
Oh, I'll leave you to it. That's what I like when I kind of sit back from it rather than me having my say all the time. But on today's episode, it's unfortunately the end of season, or fortunate for a lot of reasons, it's the end of season podcast. So we're going to be going through the small matter of Nuno Espirito Santo parting company with Wolves, the season as a whole, who we want in next, our moments of the season, and of course, your questions. I'm going to start with you, Dave. Dave, the sacking of Nuno. You cried for 2 days straight, didn't you? You weren't happy at all. What are your thoughts and feelings about it? Because I know you've always kind of been Nuno in. I've been Nuno out for a good few months, but is it going to be one of those moments like you really you know where and where you were at the time when Nuno got sacked?
I think this one will, because it's crazy, really. Like I think this is probably the first time I've been able to fully give my thoughts on the situation, because I've spoken about it on reactions, as you three probably all have, reviews, previews, and it got to a stage towards the end of the season where I was sort of on the fence. I was happy enough to give him this summer and next season, but at the same time, if he went at the time, I don't think I would have been disappointed. But when it actually happened, it was such a shock. I couldn't believe it. I remember, or you put a message in our group saying Nuno's gone, and I thought you were on the wind-up, genuinely. I went on the Wolves Twitter and saw it, and I couldn't believe it. And it was mad because I was at work at the time, and it was so busy. And I've heard a few people say it, my phone just wouldn't stop. It was ridiculous. I actually had to go and drop something off at home, and I had sales reps that I work with calling me about it. I had a customer come in the afternoon. The first thing he mentioned was about it. So it wasn't just like a little thing. Like, this guy has been at the club for 4 years, been our longest serving manager in a while, and it was a massive thing. So it was a big shock, and I thought, I couldn't believe it. I still think now, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later on, I don't think there's any candidates for the managerial role that fill me with 100% excitement, if I'm honest. And at full time, I was crying. Genuinely, I was. I was on my own in the South Bank, and I was genuinely wiping my tears. It was a big shock. So, it was a phenomenal manager. Do I think it was probably the right time? Yes. But at the same time, I just don't think there's anyone out there for me at the moment that fills me, like I said, with 100% excitement and confidence at the moment, Matt.
Yeah, it was. I mean, even I was emotional Sunday, and that's saying something. I've been calling for the bloke's head for months, which is obviously hypocritical. But I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad he got the send off he deserved, because he deserved more than to go away as the villain. Finn, you were really cut up about it, weren't you, mate?
Yeah, I remember exactly where I was. I was just settling down for Premier League years. At lunchtime, it was the Aguero season. I thought, God, we've got a good hour here, and I got it the second it came through. And then I was like, right, I don't care. I know what happened here. Let's focus on this. I sat with my mum, and then our Hermes guys, a Wolves fan, he turned up half an hour later with a package. Like, have you heard about Nuno? It's like the same as Dave. Like, it just spread like wildfire, obviously, because it's massive news. And I didn't want it at all. I think I'm probably less ruthless on it in general, and I can see that side of it. I just think there's been 3 normal seasons, and this one season that's just a freak season. Obviously, there's going to be winners and losers, and you can say, oh, it's not a normal season yet. How have Man City done what they've done? How have Villa improved so much in a strange season? But if Wolves was like I'm trying to come up with something on the spot here, but if it was a science experiment and you did it 3 times, and then the 4th time you said, right, chuck a shitload of salt in or whatever, it's going to change. It's been a different season. No fans, no Jimenez, no Johnny, and I know it's the same for everyone, but I'd have at least gone with next season, especially when he's under contract.
How about if the 4th time you chucked a load of salt in and it blew your head off?
Won't be there, yeah.
For me, that's what...
I've got nothing else. There we go. That's the Nuno section done.
Well, you've had the first 3 seasons, you've had a little bit of a fizzle, and then the 4th season you put it in and it's blowing your head clear off. That's for me.
I'd say my head's still on, slightly.
Yeah.
I've been crying for about a week, though, Finn, to be fair. I don't know if you're just tired or what, mate, but you look knackered.
Mate, I don't know what's happened. Red around my eye. I think it might be.
Stress.
I understand why fans.
Thank you. You're all looking great too, by the way.
I understand why fans wanted him to stay. Like, I completely get it. Like, like you said, you've had 3 good seasons and 1 bad. But for me, it was a little bit deeper than that. Tom, I know you were pretty much in the camp of Nuno out, weren't you?
Yeah. It was only really the last sort of 2-3 months, or probably, sort of around April time, that I was really starting to sway, because you could just see the lack of energy. I think the West Brom game, I know it's something that in January, I know there was a few inklings apparently that Fosun had even then were looking at, maybe calling it quits, which I think would have been a very, very reactionary decision. But you could just see that something wasn't quite right. He wasn't animated at all, which, when you consider, for the Villa games, how animated he was, which isn't really a huge derby. I think, for a game of that magnitude, to be sat on the bench for the last 10 minutes and just grumbling and mumbling and just not showing anything, putting Cody off, taking Neves off, it was just a very, very strange game. And I think after that, you could sort of see that something wasn't right in his press conferences. He was constantly sort of avoiding questions, and he wasn't really addressing. He was talking about solutions. I know it became a bit of an inside, joke with Wolves fans, but genuinely, it was that repetitive. Every press conference was the same. The players didn't look up for it, and I don't know. I think you can tell when something's stagnated, and I think that if we had gone into next season, I think we would have stagnated even further. I think it really was one of those where you just call it quits whilst he's on a high, whilst he's had the backing of the fans, the majority of the fans. But yeah, it definitely was time to go. The style of play for the past 14 months has been atrocious.
It was really poor. And I mean, I'll put that video out after the Albion game, didn't I? And if the club were thinking about it, then it was. But he's not. Dave, he's not the same man who we saw first come in. He's a completely different person, and the only time we've seen him have any kind of like real charisma and looking like the Nuno of old was that last press conference on the Friday, I thought. Yeah,
it was almost as if there was that weight off his shoulders at the time, because he would have known then. They obviously didn't tell the world, because that's all the press conference would have been spoken about, really. But I mean, you look at the first season in the Championship, the passion and the desire that he showed, not just the team, but he showed, the Bristol City moments, the Cardiff, the Middlesbrough, even when we beat Leicester 4-3, would he have run onto the pitch this season if we'd have gone and scored a last minute winner against Leicester after, I don't think so, but there's I think he just thrived off the fans. I think that's been his biggest downfall, unfortunately, just not having the fans there. I think he I know he mentions it a lot, but I think he absolutely adored everyone being at the ground. But I think I said it on Sunday. I think unfortunately Nuno's downfall is the fact that he's been so good the last 3 years, and I think unfortunately the pandemic, the situation worldwide, him not being able to see his family. And I know he's not on social media, but he would have been aware of what people were saying and what people have thought about his style and management. And that stuff all just weighs down on your shoulders, really. He didn't look the same person that he looked over 12 months ago. So, yeah, unfortunately. But I've said the thing that he keeps saying, see you soon, mate. Someone comes in on a 1 year deal. Well, he'll be back next summer, mate. I tell you now. I've just got a weird feeling. I
wouldn't be against it. I don't think I'd be against it. I think a refreshed mindset could maybe do him some good. I don't know. It is a strange one, but if you look at, I don't think it was a shock, but not a surprise. I just think it's what Matt said in your initial, reaction video, in the sense that if you look at his career trajectory at Valencia and Porto, the way things went were very, very similar. When he first joined the club, fans loved him. He had a real connection there. Particularly at Valencia, the comparison was really, really strange. First couple of seasons, brilliant, or first season, brilliant. Great connection with fans. And second season, a switch to young players, a look to the future, an attempt to reshape the system and style of play, and things just completely collapsed. And I think that's sort of, things haven't obviously completely collapsed. I think 13th, it would have been a respectable finish, but we finished below Newcastle.
Yeah, that's what resonated.
Come on, if Steve Bruce been getting pelters all season.
They scored more goals as well, which is unacceptable.
If you look at the injury record Newcastle have had, for example, so we can talk about City and Liverpool, but they've got better squads. But if you look at the injury record of the teams around us, Newcastle have missed Callum Wilson for the majority of this season, who has got, I think, 13 goals or something like that in the Premier League. A very, very well-respected striker. They've had injuries to Sam Maximin as well, who is by far and away their best player. Their squad is so inferior to ours, and they've managed, with a worse manager, much worse manager, there's no getting around that. They've managed to finish above us. It's not a good look. I think whilst I think the reaction was understandable, I thought, Wolves. As soon as I saw the news, Wolves Twitter's going to be an absolute cesspit for the next 2 days.
It's toxic. It's toxic already at the minute. You've got people saying, and Tim Spears says it in the Athletic, like the club are aware what fans think, and there's a loud pocket of 200 fans, which I think is absolute bollocks. I think it's very reckless from Tim Spears to say something like that. I was very disappointed. I think he's a fantastic writer, but I didn't agree with that. Fosun are ruthless and they have no emotion, yet they care what a small section of fans on Twitter say. I just don't buy it. But Finn, why do you think he's gone, and do you think the club have pulled the trigger?
The more we learn about it, the more I'm leaning towards that. I think it may have been as in he's gone, all right, then maybe 80-20, like if he's got, all right, there's these things building up, and if you don't want me as well, then I'm not sticking around, almost, if they've made it clear. Like little things there's so many things that you think, right, they weren't planning for this whatsoever. Like I said to you guys, apparently all the staff had signed up for the local golf club and stuff for the next year. It's expensive to sign up for a golf club, so you don't do that unless it's like certain, and then they've got 2 days into it and they're like, right, see you later, unless they're going to stick around in England purely just to play on a special course. But everything leans towards, like, even the video that came out today talking about the season with the people at the top of the club. It's been a fantastic season in general, or fantastic time, finishing 7th, 12th. We're going to support Nuno. It's out of the blue. Doesn't seem like a calculated decision, like they've been thinking about it for a while, whether there's been some sort of bust up, whether they've said, like you've seen reported a few times, you're going to have no money, you're going to have to generate your own funds. And he's gone, you know what, I don't have the determination or whatever that I had for this, like just give me a year. Or like Dave said, in hope, maybe he's thinking that, but I can't see it. And also on that point of people online, they will look, but as you say, it's not I don't think it was a bigger point as Tim was saying. I think he was just saying sort of like, I hope it's not what they've done. I don't think he said it was that. So some people are being horrible to him, but I suppose that comes with the job.
Fucking hell, keep on your couch and finish that asked about him.
All right, Tim, he's in the corner.
I think the thing is with that, I can understand where Spears is coming from, because if you want Nuno in, you're not going to just spout on Twitter, I really hope Nuno keeps his job, really hope, because, the only people you are going to see talking about the job security are the people that want him to lose his job. So if you do go on social media, there are going to be these people, and I'll use Bibb as an example, but Jeff Shee isn't going to go onto Twitter or YouTube and think, oh bloody hell, Michael Bibb shouting about Nuno again. I've really got to consider his position. It ain't gonna happen. Yeah. I can see where Spears is coming from, because in terms of job security, the only people you're going to see talking about it, because it's not like there was some whispers about it, but because it was coming from the Mail or whatever, no one took any notice of it really. So it's just one of them. But
do you believe that? Well, I watched that video today, and we'll talk about it a bit later. And I thought it sounded like they were planning without Nuno. That's what I took from it. I mean, maybe because we know now, but when they were talking about like it's not just about like one man and 1 year, it's like that's what I took from it. That it was like they'd already made the mind up. Yeah. But by all accounts, Dave, he was told just before the Everton game. I don't know if you. Sorry about the noise. I don't know what's going on there. Everton, just before the Everton game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think I thought we did okay against Everton. I know we didn't get anything out of the game. I thought we did okay. It was one of our better performances of recent times. So I don't think it had any sort of detrimental effect on that. And as far as we're aware, again, the players didn't find out until very shortly before we found out as well, in like a team meeting and so on. But it's that the interview obviously, you know, is interesting because the sort of video that you were on about, just because they obviously spoke about Nuno, but at the same time, especially Jeff, she was very dismissive of including him in sort of conversation. Even when there was, I think Johnny Phillips asked about the club backing Nuno, and Jeff was like, well, it's not just all about one person. And sort of, I was there like, so they didn't mention his name, but
That's
I think
what I took from it.
at the back of their mind, I think they clearly knew that this was going to go ahead. This isn't something that's happened overnight. This is something that's been brewing for a while.
Yeah, well, look, watching that video today, have they all been on holiday or something?
I know. I don't know if it's a camera
Great
or what.
timing,
Yeah.
Hey, look, they've got Ask Wolves recorded live from the sun. It was,
I was impressed with the production. And to be honest, we've been calling out for something like this for months, and then the club put it out, and then people are like, well, this doesn't count now because you've sacked Nuno. To be honest, I watched the video and I was really impressed. I thought they answered the questions honestly. You know, sometimes as fans, I think we can be a little bit conceited in the fact that we feel owners should tell us everything about, you know, Fosun are very secretive owners. We don't know, you know, about transfers until pretty much a day before they happen. Sometimes even less than that. To be honest, I thought they were quite honest with the questions. I thought they answered a wide range of questions. I quite like the fact that Jeff Shee said he can't play left back because he's right-footed. You know,
so staged though that was. You can see not waiting for the question. I mean, it's to show he's like human side, but the problem is though with stuff like that is so we've been wanting communication for years, a couple of years, and we've got it, and then fans are either like happy with it or still not happy. So are you really expecting the club to come out and say, well, this is why X is what has gone, and this is why we're not signing this player?
I've seen pretty positive comments about it, to be fair. You're always going to get a few negatives, but I think even the guys that I normally see very negative on social media have really enjoyed that, and, you know, we all know it's a step in the right direction. And I saw even a comment on the YouTube video, and I was a part of the fans parliament last year. I've stepped down like 6 months ago, but they... someone said, you know, this video, 45-minute video, has done more and given fans more than what the fans parliament have sort of ever done.
Fans parliament was a waste of time.
The thing is, though, you know, I was part of it, and I thought, right, this could be. I was probably brought the average age down by about 20 years, to be honest. And I thought, you know what, this could be the step in the right direction. But it was just every meeting, you just go around in circles and circles. You weren't going anywhere. Whereas this, you've given the opportunity to 25,000 season ticket holders. They had over 650 responses, which I don't know how many of them were serious. But from the questions and the answers we got in this part one, I think it was a very productive video, and I think they were open and honest. And Jeff Shee, not like he's done in the past, says, yeah, we've got £1 billion in the bank, let's just sign who we want. I think he was pretty sort of down to earth and serious and realistic about it, and he's let the fans know where they stand. He's not. I don't think they've set themselves up for any stupid statements other than maybe saying they're going to keep Ruben Neves.
I think we because it was so like heavily produced and like it was so kind of like they would have watched that back and gone over it and over it and over it, and there's probably questions that they said no, we can't say that. And it would have been like heavily PR'd, but I enjoyed watching it. But just going back to the manager sacking quickly, Finn, who do you now want in charge? So we've got people like Fonseca potentially in the running, Benitez, Frank Lampard, Bruno Lage, Conceição, Dave Milton.
For you two outers, isn't it? For you two outers, what's your plan now? Now you've got him gone, but I don't like it.
It's not my fault, mate. Like,
no, I know.
It's our fault, Matt. It's our fault, Jeff.
What's your plan now?
And thought he was trying to pull the trigger.
The only name that I'm encouraged by is Fonseca. is Fonseca after watching that. I was sold after that Tifo video, to be honest. But that was very pro Fonseca since, like, after I sent it into you guys, didn't I? With the sort of, everything seemed to match, but matched in the current style that we've got a lot of problems with, like as in the five at the back and Connor Cody, just like he's transformed a defensive midfielder into a centre back, etc., etc.
If you ask Dave, he's number 6.
Brilliant.
All that, yeah, in the middle. But But no, yeah, him. I've seen a lot of people say that they've sort of collapsed Roma recently. Hence, like he's leaving for a reason, isn't he? There's a reason we could get him for free. Been getting battered recently, and I've seen people say he's been very mentally weak. Like they've been very mentally weak as a team. As soon as they go down, that's it. Which has been something that Nuno sort of prided himself on. The opposite of really. Larger 1 year's experience, albeit an amazing season. I'm not sold. I think Wolves, for a team that had, well, can you say consistently twice finished 7th in a row, they could be aiming higher than a bloke that's had 1 season's experience. And all of the English names don't jump out to me. It's going to be the best of a bad bunch, really, which is a bit negative. Or getting back now. We've made a mistake. I mean, come back and play.
You say he's only had 1 season experience, but, how is he supposed to gain more experience if every club that he's offered to says, but he's only had 1 year's experience? It's one of those...
we're top of the top, aren't we?
Fair enough. That's fair enough. I mean,
who do you want, Tom? Who do you want, Tom?
Well, I put out a tweet actually that did fairly well, sort of breaking down Lage's tactics. I think he would be quite a good appointment. I know that there was the concerns about him in his towards the end of his stint at Benfica, the second season, but you do have to take into account they'd sold the vast majority of the players that did well for him in that system. So you're talking, the big one was, of course, João Felix, who went to Atletico Madrid. He was such an important player playing off Seferovic. When he left after that, they were severely limited. The owners didn't put the funding back in as much as Lage wanted. So I think Lage. I think Lampard. I'm not sold. He did okay with Derby. You would expect them to get into the playoffs with the team that he had. If you look back at the crop of players he had, it was a ridiculous team for the Championship. I think he did okay with Chelsea in his first season, but then as soon as he got all the money. Obviously it went to pot, but then Fosun aren't going to spend 200 million in a transfer window, so you could sort of say it that way. Fonseca, Finn's always spoke about him. I agree with everything he said. System wise suits us, but if Fosun want to go in a new direction, I think if you want to go forward at the back, I don't think Fonseca's the man for that. Benitez, same as Nuno, pragmatic approach, so you're not really changing too much in terms of a style of football. So out of all of the ones we've seen so far, I would say Bruno Lage has me the most excited, but that's mainly because of his style of play.
David?
Oh, man, like I said earlier, I think a lot of them, I think all of them that are currently in the frame leave me a lot to be desired for. There's none that sort of really, really excites me. I think there's only 4 or 5 managers out there in terms of, that are available that are good, but I know they won't join, i.e.
Conte.
Yeah, well, yeah, Conte, I know, Allegri.
Bring it in. Go on, pay the big bucks.
Favre, the ex-Dortmund manager, Sarri, I think at a push. But, yeah, out of the current names, I think Lampard, like you said, did a good job that first season at Chelsea, but as soon as he got the money, I don't know what happened there. Lage, I've warmed to. And the more I read up on him, the more people like yourself, Tom, talk about him, and Matt have spoke to him a lot in depth about, I'm warming to that idea, but I think that's only because that I've sort of accepted already due to the odds and due to the rumours that he's probably going to get the job. And Fonseca, I think I only like him because he wore a flat cap once on the sideline. That's probably the only reason I like him, to be honest. So, I mean, listen, whoever gets the job, people know me. I'll back him all the way. I'll back him 100%. But the board have got to back him as well. I think you could give Pep Guardiola this job, and he ain't going to do much if he doesn't get the backing. You've seen that at every club he's been at, really. That he's been backed. So as long as we can back a manager, I think we'll be sound. But looking at our current squad, I think there's obvious areas to improve on. But I think Lage has got a decent skeleton to work with straight away if he is the man that gets the job.
Finn, how much dough do you reckon we need to spend in the summer net?
Oh,
I was just thinking that when I was speaking about experience. Maybe they want him because they can pay him less on the less experience to give more to the transfer.
I personally think he's a cheap. I think he's a yes man, Lage. I think he's a cheap option, personally.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of players, as we discussed yesterday, that you can get to a base of, even if it was sell to buy, effectively with players that aren't even at the club now. You're going to get yourself to maybe 50, 60 million. It's ambitious, but you can get a good few players with that. If you look at our track record, I've seen Samare, 25 million euros today. If there's players like that from leagues that are struggling with money, especially this summer, then that should be enough. If they can just chuck in maybe 10, 20. I mean, if you loaded up Football Manager and saw Wolves and you had 10 million, you'd be disappointed, wouldn't you? I know it's not completely real, but like, they've got to put. I know they were talking about FFP and stuff today. Yeah, yeah, but I think if we could spend net about 10, 15, I wouldn't moan. If we get rid of all those loan players that have got a value, you get some decent players in.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, Tom. I agree. We've got Deadwood there that means nothing to Wolves anymore, and why keep sending them out on loan? We think we're pretty clear now that none of them are going to come back and have much impact on the first 11, even in the team we've got now. So might as well get what we can for them. But what were you about to say, Tommy? Basically echoing what Finn says, or
yeah, I mean, sort of players that, you know, we talk about Boubacar Samare, a very good player, but you talk about Houssem Aouar as well, who could leave Lyon for like 20 to 22 million. You know, he's had, you know, Lyon haven't had the best of seasons, but you know, you're talking a good quality player there for a decent price. He's got resale value if he does play well in the Premier League, because big clubs already know of his name. You know, there's definitely players there. You know, Joao Paulinho, I know, has been doing the rounds again today. That's another sort of Dendoncker type player, physical. I still think we do need that sort of brick shithouse in midfield, because we do have a very lightweight midfield. If Vitinha plays at centre mid, obviously we are going to have to get someone to partner up with him, because we can't have Neves and Vitinha as a two. I don't think we'd be too lightweight. So yeah, there's definitely players out there. I have confidence in the scouting team. If we look into the domestic market, it seems a bit conflicting, that, because the domestic market is quite expensive. Premier League players and English players have a premium on them, you know, because they're selling to rival clubs. So for me, it doesn't make much sense to cost cut, but then also try and shop domestically. Maybe we're going to look at championship level players or players that are playing well in the championship. But even then, you know, you've got Buendia who's going for 40 million, you know, they're still expensive.
I think Brexit's got a bit part to do with that, though.
Yeah, I think
it's a good point. Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting, because even on that video that we mentioned earlier, they were talking about the Championship, which we've not really seen Wolves delve into that market ever since Fosun have come in, really. And you mentioned the French, the Portuguese, the Italian market. French especially is going to be dirt cheap. I think Lille, despite winning the league, are going to have an absolute fire sale.
Because the television rights, isn't it? They've lost the deal. So the club's
exactly, but you know, it's not just Wolves talking about these swap deals, but clubs around the world and in the national press talking about these swap deals. As long as Wolves are clever, I think, especially if Lager is going to be the man and play a 4-4-2, I think, like I said, the spine of the team is there. You could put out a strong 11 already, I think. But then, for argument's sake, you get in another striker, maybe someone, you know, you sell Rafa Mir for 10, 15 million, and then you do a swap deal with Benfica, Vinicius for Vinagre plus 10 million. There's your money spent straight away, and you got your backup
Catrone Guedes as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You know, we're going to have to spend some money, but if we're clever with the outgoing Deadwood that we've got there, we could build a really good, strong team, and not just a strong team, but good squad with the depth overall. And I think players like Vinicius, who Lager's worked with before, are definitely players. Guedes, who's been linked a lot already as well. I think the key one, though, that everyone wants to see is a 1 or 2 centre halves. So, especially as Bolly and Sace are going to be at the Africa Cup of Nations later on this year. So,
and Murray if he signs.
Yeah, for exactly. So, it's going to be interesting. But I think I think Wolves sound pretty switched on with how they're going to do it. But there's definitely players there in this current squad, even if it is first teamers, like we mentioned on the sell, loan, keep videos or whatever that we've done this week. You know, players like Dendoncker or Matinho, not just getting the money for them, just getting them off the wage bill as well is a huge bonus overall.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've read the past, well, since the fallout of Nuno going, is that on a lot of occasions, the scouting team have come to Nuno and said, we've got this player, i.e. Danny Olmo, or who else he turned down?
Juan Ki-Chan as well.
I can't believe he turned them down.
Never forgive him for that one.
I can't believe he turned down Danny Olmo.
For Mendes clients, and I just hope this summer that whoever comes in gives the scouting team a bit more of a kind of a role, because we understand that they grew a little bit frustrated of doing all this work for Nuno to just go, no, I want him. He's a Mendes boy. Which, if you look at it on the whole, the past 4 windows, it's been an absolute shambles, really. Apart from Neto and Semedo, which you probably paid over the odds for, it has been a bit of a shambles. But Finn, say if we play 4-4-2 next season, it's Bruno Lage. You've got two anchors in midfield. What positions are we prioritising?
Centre back, box to box midfielder. If you're talking France, Renato Sanchez, please one day.
Hello.
I think another for those. He's sort of like it's like Southampton, isn't it? Like wingers that sort of come inside more than it's not Burnley 4-4-2.
No.
So you've got at the moment Podence, Neto, Adama, Gibbs White would probably fit that role. Maybe you need another one there, and then if you playing two up front, you definitely need another striker. I think Vinicius, if it is Lager, that's gonna come together. I'd
argue you probably need. Well, you need three strikers and then another player who can play across the front three. So, because if one of them gets injured, then it's difficult for requirements. I think this season we've kind of, I don't know, made our own bed with a small squad because look how many injuries we've had. We've been on our arses for half of the season, but it's they've definitely got the work out, haven't they, Tom, in the summer for recruitment?
Yeah, 100%. And it's. We do mention Lager. He is a Mendes client, and my slight concern with bringing him in would be that he would have the same issue with Nuno, in that Lager would side with Mendes in terms of the players that we sign. I think what we need to do is I would agree with Finn. I think the spine of the team has to improve. The goalkeeper, centre back, centre mid, and striker. We've got to have more options there. I think Gibbs White, rather than the wing, I think he could. Me and Matt were saying before we started, he could play the Joao Felix role, playing just off the striker. If we choose to switch between Fabio and Gibbs White, so maybe playing him in a more advanced central role would probably help him, because we have seen this season that his best games have been centrally, and obviously the frustration was that Nuno kept playing him, in off the right hand side or in off the left hand side rather than playing him centrally. So hopefully a manager will be able to come in and see that. I genuinely think with the new manager, Gibbs White could really, really, pick up the pace, because he was our best player for the last, 3-4 games. He was, he put in some really good performances, and I think I don't think you could say to a single Wolves fan would not want him to do well. I think we all want Gibbs White to do well because he's a local lad. He's come through the academy. We've never been blessed with bucket loads of academy prospects. Conor Ronan's probably Zeli Ismail, names that have, had a lot of promise. So in terms of buying youth players, I'm not sure, because obviously they did mention in the video Q&A that they still want to focus more on young players. And Jeff was talking a lot about, it doesn't matter about the age, it's about the performances on the pitch, which is fair enough. But I would like to see a bit more experience there. But yeah, spine of the team, I think, and definitely a couple of additions out wide as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, mate. It's going to be an interesting summer. I think it's going to be an exciting summer as well. From what Jeff said, most of the business will be done in August. So put your feet up for a couple of months, chaps.
We're going to need 3 goalkeepers as well, if we're right, Matt. We're going to need a couple.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, that keeper or seller. I was getting a bit worried.
Yeah, so flog all the keepers, just get Sarkic in, then you just find an auxiliary keeper who plays centre half.
I have seen him play once, actually, Sarkic.
Good.
For a uni assessment, we had to do a match report on the FA Cup, and Shrewsbury were playing, and he was superb. Yeah, he was class. He's very confident coming out and smothering the ball. He's confident from crosses. He's got good reactions. And he was decent playing the ball out, but obviously it's league, it's Shrewsbury, so you never know. But I did actually give him a special mention in that match report because of how, he was really, really good. He kept Shrewsbury in the games at points. So he's number 2. I would definitely not say no. He's young, he could be like Will Norris, really. Come in for the cup games, keep 4 clean sheets in a row, get us to a final or something. You never know. Yeah, happy days. Yeah, there you made your money back.
I'd scoop on Mateo Sarkic because none of us had seen him play. But moving on to the awards, it is the end of season podcast, so we've got to do some awards. Might be a bit painful this one, chaps, but we're going to start with player of the season. Dave, who's been your player of the season?
I'm sure I won't be the only one. I'm probably going to go with Pedro Neto. His improvement over the last 12 months was a little bit. Was his first season? Won it last year. I remember Matt, early days of that season. You still, I'm sure you won't mind me saying, you weren't sure on him. And I think, he was very, very raw. So in the space of sort of 12 to 18 months, he's come on leaps and bounds, and by far our best player today and this season. Sorry.
Definitely in the first season. I'm not really sure what he does, but showed that I know absolutely nothing about football.
I think in a very negative system. I just wished he could have got a few more goal contributions overall. But I think, it's the players in the middle of the pitch that have let him down, really, and obviously the injury to Jimenez. But yeah, definitely player of the season. Neto.
Put him in an offensive team, mate. Same with probably a lot of our players. I think he doubles, potentially triples his goal contributions. But Finlay, in your player of the season, you're all nodding. I'd imagine it's Neto.
Really I'm going to echo that. I was the same as you, Matt. Marcel. But no, I think Neto in that first season, I just thought it was way too weak. And as I've said in previous podcasts, it gives me hope for Fabio Silva and these small, young, weak players we bring through, because what we've turned Neto into, not just us as in, but his whole personality, even his increase in media duties this year, you've sort of seen the personality come through. Since he said, I need to shoot more, he sort of got worse, but if he can keep his like, if his mum can keep out his ear and just say, right, pass it off every so often. But no, unbelievable. And can you imagine if he was English, it'd be linked all over the place for hundreds of million now. Like, he's just fantastic footballer. He's got everything there. I think him and Adama were in the top stats. It was like carries into the box. You always see on like dribbles completed, chances created. So as you say, in an attacking system with those two on the wing, it's exciting.
It is. Tom.
I'm mute, Tom.
I'm muted. No.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Vitinha. I think. Those 2-3 games were unbelievable.
I thought he was being serious.
Getting back on mute.
No. It was out of Neves and Neto for me. My main reason being that Neves and Neto, I think, the only players this season for me that have put in 9 out of 10 performances, or 10 out of 10 performances. But yeah, I think Neto, he's stepped up. To a just completely different level. I don't think any of us saw it coming, to be honest. And we all knew there was a decent player in there, but just his confidence reminds me of, when we first signed Jota. I think I said in a previous podcast months and months ago, his low centre of gravity, his strength is very deceiving. For such a small player, players just bounce off him when he gets going. He's, for me, in game situations, sometimes he's stronger than Dharma. Adama just goes down like a sack of potatoes when anyone comes near him. But Neto's the one player that, weirdly enough, uses his strength to its full potential. He's direct. He gets goals. His delivery has improved massively. It's such a shame about his injury, because I think, the experience of going to the Euros, I think he would have played. Personally, I don't think Portugal are. This might sound like I'm going to have terrible ball knowledge here, but I don't think that Portugal are blessed with, mass amount of wingers. I think they're very gifted in midfield, in the central areas, forwards, defence, fullbacks and stuff. Yeah, but wing is one position where, Bernardo Silva, he's not really an out-and-out winger.
Guedes, Trinco, Jota.
Yeah, Guedes, Trinco, Jota. Jota would be the one. But
how many wings have they got, Tom?
Well, but I don't know. To be fair to Tom,
Jota's played centrally quite a bit.
Yeah, I think Neto would get in the team ahead of some of the ones that are in there at the moment, 100%.
I mean, he played when he got called up for, friendlies and stuff. So
yeah.
Plays with a smile on his face as well, considering how shit we've been. I really like to see that. Right then, lads, let's move on to, I'd say young player of the year, but are you in agreement that it'd be Fabio Silva? Because it's either him or Nuri for me.
Fabio Silva.
Quite young.
100%. That's got to be Fabio Silva.
Yeah.
If Nouri was on a permanent, I think we may have been leaning toward, like, if he was our player. But no, probably Fabio Silva. It's not like it's like 100%. Yeah.
I agree. I think we've been banging the drum since he first come in. He's going to be a special player, and we did this about Adama, and then everyone kind of jumped on our back, and then the next season he was unbelievable. So I'm hoping for more of the same next year.
I've got to say, Jeff Shee defended Fabio Silva a hell of a lot in that video.
Yeah. Didn't he say basically like, how about try and get behind the player when we sign him?
Yeah. Big time. That was definitely about Fabio. And he said that right at the end, didn't he? It was actually in reply to Harry Mansell's question, I think, right towards the end, and he's like, basically to this extent that he just wishes people would defend players more. I think he's just sick of people.
I wish our players would defend more.
using Fosun as a scapegoat as well, because I think he said, we've been in charge 5 years now. I think you can trust us a little bit.
It was quite catty, wasn't it? I got from that he's very, very opinionated.
Yeah.
From that video,
I like that though. I like that. I think he came across really well in that, and I think that I've been guilty of it as well. But for a lot of us questioning his knowledge on football, he's learnt a lot in 4 years.
Yeah, I thought that he barely knew anything about the game, did he? Before that,
yeah, and he's talking about players that if they can't fit a possession-based system, and I was like, bloody hell, where's this?
I reckon he's played FM, man. The Wonder Kids that we're signing.
100%.
Wonder Kid, yeah.
He's played FM.
100% the streams.
Maybe that's what Spears was referring to.
Top 3, maybe top 1. It's like Alan Partridge, you'd say.
Who uses the word Wonder Kid unless you play Football Manager as well? He loved it, mate.
Carefully doesn't watch Saving Sunderland, Dave. He'll be buying them. They need it.
That series was absolutely dog, mate.
Oh, mate, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah. You should do a Saving Bordeaux, Dave.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, they're not in for Bordeaux if you believe what Tim Spears says. But
then I saw another report about it today saying there were, so who knows?
Who knows?
Anyway, close enough.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know.
Goal of the season, Dave.
Matinho against Arsenal, absolute banger.
Finn.
I forgot to write this one down. And moment. That is the best goal, but.
Okay.
The Neto one at Southampton. Sorry, yeah, fine. I just love the Neto one at Southampton, but I find it hard to argue the Matinho one. So, yeah, I'll go with my first answer.
Tom?
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I think the celebration as well and how things were going for him at the time, there's a lot of people on his back. And to pull that out of the bag, if you look at the goals that he's scored for us, they've been like the goal against United, the free kick against Bournemouth, and then that one there.
Honourable mention as well, sorry. Sace against Leeds, the one that was ruled out for VAR. What a goal that was.
Mate, yeah.
He scooped it up and volleyed it. What a goal that was.
Yeah,
I think Vitinha's against Chorley as well was a decent. This is crap goalkeeping, but
it's a swerve on it though. Bit of swag.
You got to hit the swag seconds. Mike Ewan would have been proud.
Silver against West Brom.
Poachers.
Yeah. I'll tell you, his goal in the game against Molineux is really well taken though. Like the little flick, the turn that he did, and
it's not the goal against Molineux.
The goal at Molineux. Yeah, you put me.
It's all right, mate. We understood what you meant. Finally, lads, and this one's going to be the one you're going to have to rack your brains for the most. It's moment of the season. I've either gone Chelsea beating Chelsea at home, or the final whistle on the last day of the season. Because of
the emotion, or because the season's over?
Because the season's over.
I thought you was going to say last Friday afternoon when the news got announced, to be honest.
That would have been my answer.
That's not mine.
That would have been mine. Stir the pot, go on.
What's your moment, Dave?
Tough, and it is very little. Very, very little.
Was it winning that Campana shirt on eBay?
Yeah, I know. That's the biggest regret of the season, that one, I think. Flipping heck. Would have had a house. We'll spent my mortgage on that.
2 months mortgage payments, that shirt cost.
Yeah. Oh, it's hard, man. Chelsea's got to be up there. We haven't really got any big scouts this year, really. In terms of moments, I think the Arsenal game is probably the most memorable. I know, we should have won because they were down to 9 men. That was probably the craziest game, probably the most memorable game. So probably go with something like that, really. That's very, very little memories, to be honest.
What about yourself, Finn? Was it getting back in WV1?
Mate, I'm rubbish with posh food as well. I couldn't eat anything. But
the tarts about there, weren't there?
What was it? What was the posh food?
It was Well, I didn't have. I asked for a bread roll for starter because it was some posh salmon thing, so I said, "Can I have bread roll?" Some sort of chicken in I don't know what it was, tomato-y like carroty thing. I'd have rather just had to grill it down the road. And then the New York cheesecake. That was it. But it
I
wasn't
saw that on
worth
the vlog. That was nice. That looked nice.
Oh yeah, that was worth it.
What would you have rather have had?
Right.
Burger and chips, or
Yeah, that's what I normally get in there. No sauce.
What are your mixed
change
grills,
the
Matt?
menu and stuff?
Well, they basically there's two sides. Sorry, we've got this is my moment of the season, the cheesecake. There's like as you go up the stairs, there's like a bar and a restaurant. So the restaurant's for the posh people, and the bar is like you don't have to eat anything or whatever, but you can get a burger and chips if you want, and that's where we normally are. But they made everyone be restaurant, so you could like stay sat down and all stuff like that. So you had to have a 3-course meal and I had to wear posh shoes.
Shit flickers. Huh?
Yeah, basically. But moment of the season, I think. So Alan Partridge, how have we done?
It's all right, mate. I wasn't doing that yet.
Probably that was the biggest adrenaline rush. The Chelsea game. How we didn't get beat by Chelsea, did we? Did the double over Arsenal? They'll be kicking themselves looking at our squad and our performances this season. And I can't again, like Dave. It's not particularly memorable, but there's nothing else.
No.
What about you, Tom?
Adama, just Adama.
What moment of the season? Steve Wiles has just replied to my positive tweet about Fabio Silva saying he's garbage. So that'll be that's probably up there. He's everywhere at the moment. Every single post he tries to get there. No, I'd say Neto against Chelsea. I think. But I think that the scenes after the United game were, brilliant. It was really nice to see Nuno get a good send off, and the guard of honour from the players and stuff I thought was a nice touch, and all the video stuff afterwards I thought was really well put as well. In terms of a match or a moment, 100% Neto against Chelsea. I was going absolutely mental.
Yeah, I thought that was a turning point, but it wasn't to be. Just before we quickly go on to questions, I think we're going to talk about the new kit manufacturer, Dave.
Yeah, Castor. Yeah, I mean it was rumoured, wasn't it, a few months ago, and then these Adidas kits kept getting leaked, and but Castor is the one, I think, with due a new sponsor as well. I believe I'm pretty sure the Manbex deal is up this season, so we should be due a new sponsor. Hopefully, a lot of people want it to be Goodyear and all sorts, but. I mean, it seems like a step in the right direction for the club. I think, again, it is very much a business decision in terms, I think Wolves manage all the manufacturing, so get a lot more of that money and get much more of a say on the design. So it's not going to be a template or anything. So we could hope for some serious classics here. Some remakes of the old stuff would be absolutely phenomenal, I think. So fingers crossed. But it's a bit of a long lead time in terms of when the actual stuff gets dropped. I think it's like end of July, but surely, your season's kicking off early mid-August, isn't it? So not much of a turnaround on there, but all the training kit out in early July, and it sounds good. I mean, they've talked the talk. I know they had a few teething issues with Rangers early doors, but it sounds decent. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know Wolves had a few issues with supply, didn't they, with Adidas?
Yeah. Every season though, man. Every season, I think the third kit, I understand, they that was meant to be. They probably didn't want to get too many of them in, and that sold out. You couldn't get one early doors. So but they've obviously got the home and away kit in mad supply because everyone that did that £10 lucky dip, everyone got a home shirt in there, I think. So
can't complain.
Yeah, I think for a tenner now you can't. But Adidas, I'm glad to see the back of them. Really, one half decent kit a season, I think.
That's shocking. Shocking. There's recycled templates and stuff, and I thought the interview with Vinnie Clark was quite interesting. He said that they've really tried to nail down the colour this season. He said we want to get back to our traditional colours rather than the orangey.
I wonder what it'll be in comparison to the top you got on there, because that was the old gold. That's what they said, and that was really Marmite. But I think everyone's looked back at that and thought, it's quite nice. But it'll be really interesting to see what they do regarding the colour, because I think that old gold that they had in the 90s is so hard to replicate, because it's almost like
it's the fabric, isn't it, as well?
Bit of a shine to it, isn't it? So it'll be. I am intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how they do, but I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome back to Talking Textiles. I'm your host, Matt Cooper.
I think the badge, if we can get a plique and a plique effect on the wolf's eyes on the shirt, would be absolutely phenomenal. Yeah.
I've got no idea what that means.
Yeah. Hey, plique, come on. Did none of you do textiles at school? No? Okay, let's
I did product design, mate. I did product design.
Doing food
a black
technique.
kit with just the eyes, though, Dave, like you're talking about. If there's a black kit with just the white eye.
Like Fendi. Like a Fendi top.
Yeah, Fendi top, mate.
Yeah, imagine they're just huge.
We'll do that like PSG get Jordan, we'll get Fendi as a manufacturer.
Jesus.
Yeah, we'd get Jordan
500 quid a kit.
At your price.
Yeah.
No, we're more likely to get flipping. We're more likely to get like Shoe Zone or something.
Yeah.
Ben, are you excited by the prospect of a old gold Wolves kit with potentially Goodyear on the front?
The Goodyear thing, it's just with the prices that the Wolves are going to charge for that, they just can't. It would be lovely. Unfortunately, it's got to be a company that have crazy money. And
in America, they're big though, aren't they? Goodyear.
Didn't they nearly go bust in the UK recently?
And they got rid of the Wolverhampton factory, haven't they?
Yeah.
That was years ago. I seen someone in the replies go mad. Yeah, someone in the replies went mad. Yeah, they got rid of so many jobs in Wolverhampton. We don't want them on the front of the shirts.
Why don't we just go like Bridgestone and just take the piss? Get back at them. Handcuff.
Literally.
Could have Nuno's face.
Yeah.
If you could have a sponsor, lads, Dave, your ideal sponsor, who would it be? You could have any company in the world.
Techno Fireplace Company.
It's just going to be family business. Let me guess, spin Admaster.
Buymaster on the sleeve.
I just want to like someone that's text. Really, I think the Mambet one would be all right if it was the text, but no disrespect, the symbols of the logo, or whatever, and the little silver logo that was crap. So yeah, just a text only thing, really, or. I don't dislike, like someone like AIG that United used to have. Just something dead simple like that. Just, something like that across it.
Yeah,
or even just one that can just go one colour. Like Mambet with always had to have that white, grey, no matter on what shirt. It was black text on it. Yeah.
Yeah, they got rid of that. I remember Money Shop as well. Money Shop, you always any colour kit, you have that yellow line. Why? A fluorescent green shirt with a yellow line across it. What's that about? But I remember What said you could have whatever colour shirt you want and we'll change the colour. Every sponsor should do that. They shouldn't. They should want their sponsor to look good on a shirt. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's the kit talk done. I think we might have a few questions about it, but as we move on to the questions, thanks for sending in your questions, guys. Really do appreciate it. Bloody, I sound like Luke Bennett, don't I? Off TikTok.
Get out.
Bit of a weird one. Yeah. So we're moving on to your questions. We'll start with Instagram. We've had loads of questions, so thanks for sending them in. Wolfpack Talk. Why did Fosun sack Nuno after the past 3 seasons? Why did they not look at injuries, VAR, no fans? Well, my argument is they did and still made the call. Finn, what do you think?
I'll ask something out for you. No,
I'm only joking, guys.
What was the actual question? I was loading my joke there.
Why did Fosun sack Nuno after the past 3 seasons? Why did they not look at injuries, VAR, no fans, etc.? My argument was they did and still made the call, and then they came to you.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'd agree with that. I think again that's my argument for not for trying to keep him. But there's for every point with Nuno, there's a counter argument. Like Dave was saying, if the fans were in there, it might have been different, but. If we'd have served up that football to the fans, it could have easily turned, couldn't it? Some of the games. Definitely. Imagine if Burnley 4-0, stuff like that. I think every point's going to have a counter. So there's no clear answer with the in and out. So they've made a decision and I can't, there's no right decision. I'm sitting on the fence really, even though I was Nuno in, I can see every point. I'm not saying you lot are talking rubbish. You know what I mean? I know what you mean. So if any of you lot have got a clearer answer than that.
Dave? Question repeating again.
It's just it's one of them. I mean, they said sort of, or the reporters made out around Christmas, January, Feb, that the club understood and appreciated the issues that Nuno had, but there's obviously a trigger there behind the scenes. No, I don't think anyone is ever going to know. Until Nuno or Jeff Shee has an interview about it, or if they ever will have an interview about it, no one is ever going to know the real reason for it, really. But they made out, or I think it's probably Tim Spears, sorry to chuck him under the bus again, he made out that, that there was an understanding there, but obviously not. And I have seen a sort of counter argument saying that, if you're sacking or getting rid of a manager that's finished 13th place, you only want, that's your level, really. You want to be going much higher, which I think they do. They don't want to settle for that. They want bigger and better. And I think the next manager, that they'll have European aspirations in mind again.
Tom, why do you think Fosun didn't look at all those variables? What do you think they did?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely did. I mean, obviously, it's difficult for us to really answer why, and unless we, had a really good source in coming out from the club. But yeah, I think all those variables taken into account as well. And look, as much as Fosun would have said, we've had lots of injuries and stuff, we can't afford to be finishing mid-table with FFP. We've got to push up and get more money. We've got to bring in more revenue. The style of football, I don't know if I'm pretty sure you guys might have seen that little, graph things showing that our brand value has gone down 42% this season. Style of football does matter. And if we do want to have a better brand, which is what Fosun are focusing on for the first few years to build up a solid foundation of income, and we've got to be playing better stuff and we've got to be pushing higher up the league. And I think that they would have taken into account the press around Wolves. If they really look at reaction online, they would have seen every time Wolves play, neutral fans all the time saying we're the most boring team to watch, we kill every game we're playing. Got Wolves fans saying similar things. They would have seen that and gone, well, we're not going to attract any new fans if everyone knows us for, quote unquote, terrorist ball.
Do you not think that brand thing was to do with Jimenez being out of the squad though? Because that's such a big.
That's a good point.
I don't know what the metrics are based on.
I think it was BS because I saw someone use that as a reason for us being so bad and why they sacked Nuno. But surely,
ironically, my views are down 42% as well.
Yeah, there you go. It's about 40%.
Well, there you go. There you go. Maybe they were looking at your brand identity, Finn, as well.
Yeah. It's because you took your sister out most of your videos. We've got. To be fair, we got loads of questions. I think this one's a really, really good one. From Horton, Horton 018. Hey lads, love the content. What's your thoughts? Oh no, that's the wrong question.
You just wanted to read that first bit. You just wanted to read the first bit.
Do you think Fosun will expect the new managers to get Europe next season? And is it fair, Dave?
I don't think they will. I think they'd be stupid to expect that straight away. If I'm completely honest, unless they give him like a war chest of about 100 million, and say right, get Europe, shit or bust. But I don't think that would be fair. I think unfortunately for a lot of fans, it's going to be another transitional season again, because you can't expect a manager to inherit a squad that has been with a certain bloke for 4 years and just expect results straight away. And that's my concern for the next manager, is that if they don't get first 3 or 4 5 games and he hasn't picked up a win, which we've seen even under Nuno over the last few years, it's taken us a while to grow into a season. Slow start, yeah. I'm concerned that these people are going to get on their back straight away. And I don't want to mention, I don't want to pick out certain people, but there are there's a certain proportion of our fan base that I believe is fairly fickle, and I'm concerned that they're going to jump on his back straight away. And I think that's something everyone has got to take into consideration. This is a bloke that's got to inherit a squad what has been under a certain regime for the last 4 years. It's not going to just click straight away, and we ain't going to win every game 3-0 straight away. So if we can finish top half, push towards Europe, great. But certainly don't think Fosun would be expecting that first season.
That's fair enough. Move on to the next question. Let's fin this. Is Rafamir good enough to be our backup striker next season? That's from Kian.
I'd love to say that I'd watched every game of him. To be honest, I'm probably, if anything, I should be biased in saying that he would be, because every time I've seen anything, it's been him scoring from 40 yards or Panenka in at the new camp and stuff like that. So I've been stung twice now by La Liga with Vallejo and Jose, and it just makes me not trust anyone. but that's so unfair to judge a player just on the league that he plays in. I'm just wary about it, and I'm just thinking, is he ever gonna, on what we saw at Wolves especially, is he ever gonna reach that, as in this value ever again? So I would be leaning towards selling him, but I haven't watched any of the games. If anyone can say he's been unbelievable, he could come in, especially his backup. In my opinion, I don't want to be stung a third time. Exactly, that's it. Yeah, I would, but I know, like, I can't say just because we had another bloke from a league, he's going to be the same. So I'm going to probably, if he was at the Euros, I'd have loved to have watched him. But there we go.
Yeah, we've got another question here from Jay Baines, and Tom, this is for you, and I'll ask the rest of the group because I think it will split opinion. Why can't we go and get Gerrard as manager? Surely Wolves with the Premier League status is a bigger pull. My opinion on this is Rangers is one of the biggest clubs in Britain, and they've got Champions League football, and it's a bigger job than Wolves. And that's my reasoning. I would love him at Wolves, but what do you think, Tom?
No, I completely agree. I think they're the most successful British club ever. They've won the most domestic trophies. They've got a huge fan base, a very passionate fan base. It's a very, very good way of getting Champions League football. He's got a team there that he enjoys. I think the reasoning I would see for Gerrard joining us would be more of a sort of a Premier League gig, really, before he gets
Liverpool gig.
Then a lot of people are talking that he's nailed on for the Liverpool job, really. So we would pretty much be a stepping stone club for him to, get the job, a bit like what Frank Lampard did at Derby. I would love him, to be honest. He's, from how he carries himself in press conferences to his mentality, his experience, his ability to get the best out of a group of players. He got to the same stage we did with a far inferior squad in the Europa League. They've got Morelos, who is a great striker, but their team didn't, it wasn't anywhere near on the same sort of level as the team that we had that got there. So it just goes to show, really, that if you really get at teams, you can get results. And I feel like if he was able to do that with the money, the team, and the resources at Rangers, I think he would really excel with our squad of players and our ambition and our use of youth. And I think the players would buy into him very quickly as well. But yeah, like you said, I think the issue of, he's got Champions League football to play. And yeah, they probably will get smashed like 4-5-0, or, they might nick a win here and there, and it might not be pretty. But they could very easily do well in the Champions League and catch a lot of teams, off guard. And he's not going to take the chance to miss out on that for what could be, another potential transitional mid-table season. So yeah, I don't think that we're in a position to be able to get him. That's probably why if we want to believe the rumours, that's probably why we've spoken to Lampard instead of Gerrard.
Finn, would you like him down the Wolves team, Gerrard?
Yeah, it's going to soon be a Gerrard Lampard Scholes for managers, isn't it? I was thinking it just when you were saying that then. It goes from which midfielders to which managers you want. Yeah, as you say, get into everything he's done with Rangers and the limitations of that squad. Like, I looked up that Tavernier, however you say it, the right back, and he's like bang average in England, and he's turned him, albeit in the Scottish League, turned him into a machine. Connor Goldson from Wolverhampton, remember him scoring an own goal for us once. That's all I remember him, really. But he's turned that squad. Yeah, he's turned that squad, and unlike how I know he's had a few favours from Liverpool in like Ryan Kent and players like that, but like Lampard getting Mason Mount and Tomori in the Championship and still finishing 6th where Derby finished the season before. For me, if it was Gerrard Lampard's goals, Gerrard 1,000,000%. I know he's going to be a more expensive option, one to pay him out of the Rangers contract, and I think he's a better manager, as you say. And if we are going cheap, like the large sort of thing, or any free agent suggests, we're not going to pay anyone out. But in an ideal world, I think I'd love that. If he keeps Morelos under control, he can manage anyone.
Dave?
I love how Finn somehow brought Gerrard into it, despite him being an absolute failure at Oldham. You know what I mean? Just bringing him into the frame of the Wolves job as well. Yeah, Scholes, sorry. Not Gerrard, Scholes. Scholes, sorry. Gerrard was someone I mentioned on the video that I did last weekend. The 5 managers that I would like to see Wolves, consider, because I think to answer Jay's question, I don't think Wolves would be able to get him. Mainly because he's sort of gone there and from day one admitted it was a project, and I think that was his sort of initial welcome to the fans that, listen, you've got to give me time. I'm not going to just win everything straight away. And you've seen it so many times, especially in leagues like Scotland, where no disrespect to the other teams, more or less a 2-horse race. And, he finishes second. Even in Portugal, when it was, I know Sporting have broke that duct now, but when it was Porto Benfica, Nuno lost like 2, 3, 4. I think he lost twice in the league the year he got sacked. Like, the expectation just every season is win the league, and if they don't, they're going to get sacked. So he's built a team there and a project. And like Tom said, it's on paper, it's such a average, if that, team. And the way he's not just this season, but last season done so well in Europe as well. But unless, once again, Wolves can promise him a ridiculous war chest and a ridiculous rise in wages and so on, there is no point for him to walk away from the Rangers job at this moment in time, at a risk of coming to the Premier League. I agree with what Tom said, that he's got to come almost like an audition for that Liverpool job, but at risk of coming to the Premier League and ruining all of that reputation whilst he's got it good at Rangers at the moment.
Yeah, I think you all raise very valid points. Final question from Tannis. Do you think Jeff Shea will be paying close attention to Molineux on Monday for Matt's potential audition as new Wolves manager?
Oh, here we go. Brilliant.
So,
are you going to be playing a 5 with the back, Matt?
I'm not, mate. I play a 4-2-3-1.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
It's what's happening is
Gegenpress.
Not with our players, mate. We're all fat bastards. Apart from Dave and Finn. So Dave and Finn and a whole host of other Wolves content creators and the Fancast are playing in a charity game on Monday at Molineux for the charity morning. It's a fantastic cause. I'm sure we can put the Just Giving link in, can't we,
Dave?
I'll
make sure I do that.
Yeah. Any donations are of course welcome. It's a fantastic cause, and it's a cause close to my heart, and I know a lot of ours. So although Jeff will be there watching the audition for me as a new potential Wolves manager, the actual cause is a lot bigger than that. So yeah, really looking forward to that. There's been loads of questions as well about whether we should sell certain players or we should keep certain players. We've got the buy, sell, keep series on the YouTube at the minute. We've got the defenders one out, which includes goalkeepers. That's already out, I believe. Midfielders is out today, Dave?
Yeah. On the day of the podcast release. Yeah, the 27th. That'll be out, yeah.
And then attackers on Friday?
Yep, correct, yeah.
Yep,
sorry.
so
yeah.
You'll be, it's all right, mate.
Yeah.
Just give me a couple more minutes, mate, and you can go.
Yeah.
So that'll all be out this week, of course, with this podcast. But I just want to say, and I'm sure this will be echoed by everyone as it's the end of season podcast, thank you so much for the support this season. It's been a difficult one for us because it's been hard to keep going, and even more so for Dave, who's been pumping out loads and loads of content. It's been difficult for me. I've even thought, like, is it worth doing anymore because of all the stuff that's gone on? But I can sure we'll have a bit of a refresh and we get loads of content back out there in the summer. But I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who supported. Dave, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I hope people find this podcast a little bit more intriguing and upbeat, because I remember this time last season, at the end of last season, it was after that severe defeat, and it was, I think, just us two, man. It was very sort of down and so on, and people had commented on that, really. So I hope, although the situation's a bit different this year, that it's been a bit more insightful. I think we've all given our opinions on loads of different things, and obviously let us know your thoughts in the comments section if you're watching on YouTube, and or just drop us a tweet if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. But yeah, loads of content still coming out over the summer. I know a few people commented as if we were going to have a 6-week break or whatever, but now literally the content's going to carry on as normal, and hopefully we've got an interview / podcast coming out with Alex Gonsalves again, talking about Bruno Lager, so looking forward to that one.
Who, mate? Alex coach? And also a special mention to our contributors, which is Tom included. We've had some wonderful articles and some wonderful insight on the YouTube channel as well this season. So massive thanks from Dave, Finn, and I, because it's been class, and we appreciate all your hard work. But I think that's it. That's it. The season's finished. Dave, where can people find you? Should they wish to find you, mate?
It's at Dave as a party on Twitter, which is as it's spelled on the screen. So yeah, thank you.
Finn, where can people find you?
On street corners. Now I'm not getting any views, but Finners, FINERRZ. just everywhere. 1 second. Next season, we'll be back. Once playing attacking football, Jimenez up front. We'll be back.
Tom, where can people find you once you're not at Hogwarts?
That's the kind of the issue, because they don't have internet there, so it doesn't work. So, I'm off Twitter about 8 months a year, but for the 3 months that I'm back, you can find me at Tom_Parker12, where I'll be tweeting about how I defeated Voldemort.
We did have a question. We did have a question on Twitter earlier, actually. Tom.
Oh, is this bib? Is this bib? Is this bib about my hair?
What silly colour will Tom Parker dye his hair next?
I've retired from dyeing my hair because my hair genetics are not fantastic. French people have terrible hairlines. So I've decided to stop dyeing my hair for the sake of my future. So it will be remaining brown for the rest of my life.
The next podcast will come on like John Ruddy, mate.
Yeah. Look like what's his name? Ninja, the next podcast, all blue or whatever. Yeah.
I'll shave my hair for 10 grand.
Oh, there we go. Just giving. Get it in the charity donation.
If the hairline starts going, boys, you just do it down.
I'm brave at the headband. I've got about 3 haircuts left in me. If you wish to follow me, I'm probably sure you probably don't. It's M Cooper Writes as in written, Twitter and Instagram. And Talking Wolves is Talking Wolves across Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. If you've enjoyed this video, like the video. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you comment on the video. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. And until then, it's not a goodbye. It's a see you soon. Thanks for listening.
Oh, cheers, Nuno. Clever that.